Okay, so I got to make an amendment on my last video. I don't really like doing this, but I made a mistake. The information that I gave was close to being scientifically sound, but it was slightly off. And this actually really blows my mind because I thought for sure that was it, right? Well, here's where it gets very confusing. What and I like So the adenoviral vector vaccines, they're DNA based, right? So what they claim they did was they took this RNA and it's synthetic RNA. Like if you could picture the multiverse, if like this is how CERN works, right? As a theoretical construct or whatever, if you could picture a synthetic Earth, like in a multiverse, just like ours, but artificial. Well, like this transmutation circle they built all around Switzerland. It's huge. They built it to simulate the Big Bang. So that means an artificial Big Bang. So like, this is why they call it the upside down in Stranger Things, and they say it's like a wormhole bringing this world to ours. That's Wormholes are like how you would look into the future, technically, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, like that's what they're talking about. So it moves around faster than the speed of light. These particles eventually fly into each other, and when they do, what's left over is supposed to be whatever was created during the Big Bang, only a synthetic version. So they decided they were gonna here's the only thing that makes sense for me. They took amino acids off a meteor. Why a meteor? Because they think it's related to the RNA soup all life came from, right? So these amino acids are only part of an RNA sequence. They're not a full sequence. So they completed it. They completed it using CERN. That's how they made Romulus and Remus, the wolf clones. They're based on something old, but they're something new. That's how they made them. They're synthetic. So this is synthetic RNA, partly organic. So your body might recognize it as self, but it also might reject it. So anyway, most evolutionary time period in history, which has great potential for evolution. Life forms would have been coming and going really quickly in the beginning. They would have been dying off real fast until everything stabilized. So this has a potential. It has enormous potential as far as mutations are concerned, right? So they wanted to figure out how to get this into people. They took the RNA and then they reverse engineered it, and they made the DNA. Then they made basically a hybrid DNA adenovirus clone thing. So that's what the vector is, right? So here's what I got wrong. The coronavirus is supposed to be RNA based. The adenovirus is DNA based. So they say that a DNA virus cannot recombine with an RNA virus. So this is where it gets really confusing, right? So what they're showing over and over again in all these things is not, it's COVID, but it's not COVID. They're showing this recombination event leading to an adenovirus that's carrying the spike protein, not the coronavirus, but the spike protein is the coronavirus, right? So it is and it isn't. Or is it? What does this mean, right? At this point in time, I'm just as confused as you are, probably. But what so in Helix in season 1, they show you that the tests don't work. And when they show you that the tests don't work, they're showing you that people are actively infected, but the test is saying that they're not infected. So I ask AI, if this happened, would the test positive for COVID? And it said no. It said that the antigen test and the antibody test would, but not the standard test. They most likely would test false, but it's just used for genetic material. They say it's supposed to use for the whole sequence, but that spike protein is part of the sequence, and if that spike protein is showing itself strong enough, I don't know, maybe you get a positive. I mean, you're getting positive somehow, right? So there's one of two things happening here. What they're definitely showing in this, they call them vectors. That's how they spread the virus. They're spreading it because they're vectors from the vaccine. And in this case, it was called Narvik-2. Narvik-2 is the adenoviral vector vaccines. That's what they're showing in Osmosis Jones. That's what they're showing in all these shows. Stranger Things, X-Files. Like, they're talking about an adenoviral vector vaccine that ends up recombining with the spike protein because the vectors fail. Because, you put this vector in, it's supposed to turn off part of the virus, the part that spreads everywhere, right? But the problem is when they recombine, now that is part of the virus again. It's part of the spike protein. Spike protein isn't a virus, it's protein, but yeah. So now it's carrying it everywhere. It's a new novel virus, but it's an adenovirus, not a coronavirus. So where the hell does the coronavirus come from? Because everywhere these drugs went, that's where the variants of coronavirus went. And what this would also mean, I thought it was rare, because when you look at the studies for COVID and you look at the potential of this happening, I thought, well, maybe it's just because the studies are only like small scale, like a little bit of people here, a little bit of people here. Maybe they're just missing it because it's such a small. No, now I don't think so. I saw this thing Peter McCullough put out, and when he was talking about they're finding the spike protein found all throughout the dead. They're finding it in the heart, the brain. Well, the only way that it's more common than what I was originally saying. So what that means is it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Only it's going partly undetected because those tests aren't accurate. So people are taking the tests and they think it's going to tell them if they're positive, and it's not telling them because they have an adenovirus. So it's not picking it up. The adenovirus is spreading the spike protein. That's what this means. Is that the only thing spreading the spike protein? Probably not. Is there a coronavirus spreading the spike protein? I have no clue. This is honestly like, this is like Mulder in the X-Files. You go through this, you think you get it, and then there's this thing that comes along and you're just like, what the? You have no idea. Like, okay, so did they make it up? I don't know. Was it just a computer image of the actual coronavirus? Is the coronavirus a real thing? Is it just the adenovirus spreading the spike protein? Because that's what all these shows are. That's what the vectors are showing you. And I explained some more connections with the whole vector thing in the last video. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again. But, I mean, what the hell? I really don't know. And nobody is, keep in mind, like in the scientific community, nobody is looking for an adenovirus spreading the spike protein like this. So it's not like they're sitting there taking all these adenoviruses, the most common cold, spread through the population and putting them under a microscope to see if this is happening. It's happening, though. It's 100% happening. Is it all that's happening? Again, I don't know. That's about all I got for you at the moment. But if you like this video, then you should definitely watch part 2. Or this is part 2. You should definitely watch the next video that I put out, because in season 2 of Helix, there's an insane Charlie Kirk assassination connection, and it's not direct. It is and it isn't. It's like I have to explain it then. It's just a huge Charlie Kirk connection that I didn't even really expect, and that actually ties into the Constitution. Like, I get what they're doing now. Anyway, all of this is absolutely insane, right? So if you still think I'm crazy at this point, you should actually start watching these shows and think about it from that perspective, that they're showing you. And they even show in Helix, they even showed a picture of the coronavirus, but they're talking about an adenoviral vector vaccine. I mean, they specifically mentioned, like, they specifically, like, one of the people that gets, like, basically isolated is supposed to be his RNA expert. So what does that have to do with anything? Because they were talking about a DNA vaccine, not an RNA vaccine, but it came from the RNA. I mean, just the way that they hit it all is crazy. Anyway, thanks for watching.